All right, guys. So in the last video, we checked out who the Antichrist is and where he comes from, because the Bible's always said exactly who he is and where he comes from. But we also established that there's a problem. A spirit, that is to say, from the bottomless pit, needs a body in order to manifest itself to the world in the way and in the likeness that the book of Revelation says the Antichrist is going to do so. And so now we're going to ask ourselves, what body is the Antichrist going to use to do and to accomplish these feats? And the answer again is in Revelation 17. So with your Bibles open, read with me if you would in verses 10 and 11, where it says, "There are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goes into destruction." So what we can discern from those words is that the Antichrist is the 8th of 7 kings. Interesting. How could you be the 8th king and yet still of the 7? Well, the Bible doesn't particularly say, but what it does say is that the beast that John saw was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. So Revelation 17, the angel is speaking to John on the Isle of Patmos, and he says, "The beast that thou sawest was and is not." So we know from that information that whoever the Antichrist is, he was alive on the earth at some point in time prior to the lifetime of John, because there's 2 realities that comprise the reality of the beast from the bottomless pit, or the Antichrist. One is he's a spiritual entity which is trapped in the bottomless pit, and the second is he has to manifest himself in a body. And so the beast that was is the body that's going to be used. At least that's my postulation. And so it's important for me to acknowledge that I'm going to put forth a theory here, which I think isn't any kind of a reckless departure from what the text might indicate, but it's nowhere emphatically stated. So that's important to note that. But I'm going to postulate that the meaning of the words "the beast that was and is not" is the 8th of 7 kings, could mean that when the beast was, he was one of the 7 kings. All right, who's going to be reborn into the earth, or should I say regenerated into the earth, as an 8th, yet still of 7 kings. And so if that might be true, we could ask then, who or which one of these 7 kings might this beast be? And so a little bit of reasoning tells us that it couldn't be the 7th, because he was alive after the time of John. It couldn't be the 6th, because he was alive during the time of John. So it had to be one of the 5 that were alive prior to the lifetime of John. "The beast that thou sawest was," John, Revelations 17:8. "There are 7 kings, 5 are fallen. One is, and the other is not yet come." So if the 8th king of 7 is one of the 7 kings, he's got to be one of the 5 that are fallen. It's a little bit of complexity here, but if you study the text for yourself, which is really all I'm trying to get you to do, then you'll see what I'm getting at pretty quickly, I think. And so let's ask ourselves, if we were going to hopefully discern some group of 5 kings, where would we have to look? And how would we know we found the right 5 kings at all? And the only answer I can come up with is that the Bible has to contain that information somewhere, or else we're just left to arbitrarily choose 5 kings from sometime prior to the lifetime of John and say, maybe it was those guys. But we're not going to do that. So what we are going to do is turn to Daniel chapter 8. And in Daniel chapter 8, 9, and 10, there's a very interesting procession here, and I think you'll see what I'm talking about quite quickly. Really all we need to do is read 8 and 9, so let's just do that. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. There was a great horn. That great horn was broken into 4 pieces. We're told later that the great horn is a king, and he falls, but he gives his kingdom unto the hands of 4 other kings. So there's your first king, and then there's your 4 kings after that, which makes 5. But that's not all. If that's all we had to go on, that's like, well, maybe that is, but maybe it's some other 5 kings or whatever. How would you ever know? The next verse has a lot to say about that. Out of one of them, that's one of the shattered pieces of the kingdom of the great horn, out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And so hopefully you saw that there. What I'm postulating to you is that the great horn was the first king, the first of the 5 kings, okay, also the first of these 7 kings, but that he'll be reintroduced into history as the little horn. Now, I don't like to throw up this hand symbol. Actually, I don't ever do it, but I'm going to just show you how it is that the Satanists and the people who really seem to dig evil, they have a hand symbol. If you ever seen it, it looks like this. They think that they're worshiping Satan when they do that, but it's also an easy way to remember who the Antichrist might be. It could be the great horn returns after a period of thousands of years to the earth as the little horn, and that's who these people are worshiping as they attend these satanic rock concerts and stuff like that and think that the devil is cool. The devil's not cool. He's not your friend, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the possibility that the Antichrist is the first of one of these 7 kings, and that this first of 7 kings is written here in the book of Revelation. I'm going to read another text here, and it seems to basically sum it up all over again for us. It says, "The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up." So that's in the same chapter right there. You've got a progression, a procession from the kingdom of Alexander the Great, who is the great horn, through some period or passing of time, and then you've got the little horn manifesting, and then over here you've got the king of fierce countenance manifests out of the kingdom of Alexander the Great. "The beast that thou sawest was, is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit." And if that's going to happen, he's going to need a body, and I'm going to lay my cards on the table and tell you that I think it could be the body of Alexander the Great. And so it behooves us to ask the question, then where exactly is the body of Alexander the Great? And the answer to that question is nobody knows. Nobody knows, because his body, this is what we do know, was mummified, and then it was buried in a secret place that has fallen into mystery throughout the sands of time. However, we do know that many archaeologists are currently looking for that body, which they believe to be well preserved because it was, again, mummified. And so I am not sure exactly what means might be used in order to create a fit vessel for the spirit from the bottomless pit, which is Apollyon, to come to the earth in the body of Alexander the Great. I don't know how that's going to happen. But before people say, well, that's just crazy, dude, that can't happen, let's remember that as Christians, we believe that our Messiah, Jesus Christ, both died, descended into the